The first thing we noticed was the dirt, a small, loose mound near the edge of the abandoned construction site. It wasn't unusual. Places like this often had piles of leftover gravel or soil. But something was different. The ground seemed disturbed. Fresh. Uneven. And there, just barely poking out from the soil, was the tip of a paw. It was tiny, covered in dust. Motionless. "Stop the car!" I shouted, throwing the door open before we even came to a full halt. Jenna, my coworker at the shelter, jumped out behind me. We both stared at the strange patch of earth. My heart pounded in my chest like a war drum. I didn't know what we'd find, but I knew something wasn't right. I dropped to my knees and began digging. My hands tore through the soil, faster and faster, my breath coming in ragged gasps. Jenna joined me, using a stick to gently clear the dirt. Just a few inches in, we saw it. A face, caked in dirt. Eyes shut. A puppy. "Oh my God," Jenna whispered, her hands shaking. Is he breathing?" I leaned in, placing my hand near his tiny snout. For a moment, nothing. Then the faintest warmth of air. "He's alive," I gasped. "He's breathing." We worked faster now, carefully lifting his fragile body from the ground. He wasn't moving. His fur was soaked in cold mud, his ribs visible under his skin. But just as I cradled him close to my chest, his tail gave the weakest, tiniest wag. And in that moment, I knew we were too late to stop what had happened to him, but not too late to save him. We raced back to the van, wrapping him in Jenna's scarf. The drive to the emergency vet clinic felt endless. Every second, I watched his chest rise and fall, terrified that it might stop. I whispered to him the whole time. "Hang in there, little guy. We've got you now. You're not alone anymore." At the clinic, the staff rushed him into the treatment room. We waited outside, pacing the floor. I couldn't stop thinking, who would do this? Who could bury a puppy alive and leave him for dead? An hour later, the vet came out, wiping his hands on a towel. His face was solemn. He's severely dehydrated. Malnourished. We found bruises. But, he paused, then offered the first sliver of hope we'd heard all day. "He's a fighter. That tail wag tells me he hasn't given up." We were allowed to see him briefly. He lay on a heated pad, for lines running from his legs. His eyes were still closed, but when I whispered to him again, he flicked an ear. Another tail wag. Jenna teared up. "He knows he's safe now." We named him Dusty, for the dirt he rose from and the quiet resilience he carried. Over the next few days, Dusty's condition hung in the balance. The vet said it would be a miracle if he survived the first 48 hours. But Dusty had other plans. Slowly, he began to improve. He drank water. He ate tiny bites of food. And one afternoon, when I opened his cage to check on him, he licked my hand. It was the first real sign of affection he'd shown. The staff rallied around him. Everyone wanted to be part of his recovery. Volunteers knitted him blankets. Children sent in letters. His story had started spreading. Someone had posted about him online, and people were already calling him a little miracle. But none of us knew the full truth yet. Where he came from. Who did this to him? And as Dusty healed, the questions grew louder. That's when we got the first clue. The clinic receptionist took a strange call late one evening. A man's voice. He asked if a small brown puppy had been found in the construction area. When she asked who was calling, he hung up. I remember the look on her face when she told me. Fear mixed with concern. Whoever buried Dusty, he wasn't finished yet. And Dusty, still barely strong enough to walk, had no idea his past was about to catch up with him. The phone call haunted us. Who was that man? Why did he ask about Dusty? And most chilling of all, why didn't he stay on the line? I doubled down on the investigation. I returned to the construction site where we'd found Dusty. It was a patch of land set aside for a shopping complex, but work had stalled months ago. The site was fenced off, but the lock on the side gate was broken. Anyone could have slipped in. I searched the perimeter, eyes scanning for anything unusual. And then I found it. A torn piece of denim caught on a wire fence, child-sized. Nearby, an empty dog food bag tossed behind a crumbling wall. There had been someone here. Recently. I took photos. Every detail could be a clue. Back at the shelter, I showed them to Jenna. This wasn't just a one-time thing, I said. Someone was here, feeding a dog. Maybe keeping him hidden. Until they weren't. She nodded, troubled. Or until something went wrong. That night, I stayed late at the shelter. Dusty was resting peacefully, curled up in his crate, wrapped in his favorite knitted blanket. The volunteers had decorated his space with soft toys and a hand-painted nameplate. He had gone from being buried alive to being surrounded by love. But I couldn't shake the feeling we were being watched. The shelter security system had always been basic, but I checked the feed anyway. Nothing unusual. Just the stillness of the night. Until 3:17 a.m. A shadow moved outside the shelter fence. Tall. Hooded. The figure didn't try to break in. He just stood there, watching. For almost 10 minutes. Then, just as silently, he walked away. I called the police the next morning. I showed them the footage. They promised to send a patrol car more often. But their tone said what I feared. They didn't think it was urgent. I did. Dusty had survived the unthinkable. He'd wagged his tail when he should have been too broken to feel joy. And I wasn't going to let anyone hurt him again. The vet gave us another update later that week. His vitals are strong. He's gaining weight. But there's something else. He paused, then added. There are signs of long-term neglect. Old injuries. Broken ribs that healed without treatment. This little guy's been through more than we thought. I knelt beside Dusty's crate, gently brushing his ears. You've been surviving a long time, haven't you, buddy? But not anymore. Now you're going to live. Dusty's eyes opened slowly. He gave a soft, raspy yip. Then, to my surprise, he stood. His legs trembled, but he stood. One wobbly step forward. Then another. I laughed through tears. That's it. You're walking. You're walking. It felt like watching a baby take his first steps. The entire shelter erupted with excitement. Staff rushed in, phones out, recording the moment. We posted it online with the caption, From underground to unstoppable, Dusty walks again. The video went viral. Messages poured in from around the world. Offers to adopt. Donations. Even celebrities reposted his story. But something else happened, too. One message stood out. It was sent anonymously through the shelter's website. You don't know what you've done. Stay out of it. That was it. No name. No contact. Just a warning. I showed Jenna. They know we're close. They're scared. She looked at Dusty, who was now snuggled beside a warm plush bear. Then they should be. Because we're not giving up. That night, I brought Dusty home. Just for a few days, I told myself. Until things settled. He explored slowly, sniffing corners, testing soft rugs with his paws. He slept beside my bed, head resting on my slippers. And in the morning, he greeted me with a yawn and a tail wag that was stronger than any before. For the first time, he barked. Just once. Soft but certain. He was finding his voice. But I didn't know it then. Our bond would soon be tested. And the person who left that message wasn't done yet. 3 days later, my car window was smashed. A single word scratched into the hood with a knife. Return. The word scratched into my car hood, return, was more than a threat. It was a declaration. I filed a police report, but deep down, I knew I couldn't rely on them alone. Whoever had buried Dusty hadn't vanished. And they weren't just angry, they were scared. Scared that Dusty's survival was exposing something deeper. So I made a decision. I wasn't returning Dusty. I was fighting back. I doubled the shelter's security. I took time off work. And I started digging into public records, shelter logs, even missing pet reports. Anything that might connect a name to Dusty's past. It was a week later when I found it. A neighborhood not far from the construction site. Police had been called there multiple times. Noise complaints, animal welfare concerns. One address showed up more than any other. I brought it to the police. This time, they took notice. With enough community pressure and Dusty's viral story still gaining traction, authorities visited the property. What they found was horrifying. A backyard kennel, hidden behind a broken-down shed. Dozens of dogs. Malnourished. Scared. Some injured. The place was a makeshift breeding mill. Illegal, unsupervised, and brutal. Dusty hadn't been the only one. He'd just been the one they gave up on. The weakest. The smallest. The one they chose to discard. The man behind it all was arrested. The rescue mission that followed was overwhelming, but beautiful. Every single dog was taken in by surrounding shelters. Many were adopted within weeks. Thanks to Dusty's story, people were eager to help. As for Dusty, he became a symbol. A survivor. A hero. We held a small event at the shelter. A forever safe adoption fair, in honor of Dusty and all the animals who deserved better. The day Dusty was officially adopted was by me. I stood before the crowd, holding him in my arms, now healthy and strong, and I told them what he had taught me. He was buried alive. Left to die. But he wagged his tail. He forgave. He trusted again. That kind of spirit, It changes you. The crowd applauded. But Dusty, always humble, just gave a soft bark and licked my chin. And as the sun set that evening, with children laughing and dogs playing around us, I realized something. We saved Dusty, but he saved so many more. Moral of the story asterisk. Even in the darkest places, hope can survive. Kindness, no matter how small, can rewrite someone's fate. And those who are forgotten, discarded, or broken, they are not worthless. Sometimes they are the ones who change the world. Dusty was buried, but he rose. And in doing so, he taught us all what it truly means to live.